Actually, let's move that water closer. I feel like we may need it. Yeah, not setting it near the laptop. Too risky. Here, Officer Froggy, you can guard it. Okay. We're almost halfway there. At this, the son was very angry, and forgetting his promise, turned his ring and wished for his queen and son. In an instant they stood before him, but the queen wept and said he had broken his word, and misfortune would follow. He did all he could to soothe her, but she at last appeared to be appeased. But she was not so in reality, and only meditated how she should take revenge. One day, he took her to walk with him out of town and showed her the spot where the boat was turned adrift upon the wide waters. Then he sat himself down and said, "I am very much tired. Sit by me. I will rest my head in your lap and sleep a while." As soon as he had fallen asleep, however, she drew the ring from his finger and crept softly away, and wished herself and her son at home in their kingdom. And when the king awoke, he found himself alone, and saw that the ring was gone from his finger. "I can never return to my father's house," said he. "They would say I am a sorcerer. I will journey forth into the world until I come upon my kingdom." So saying, he set out and traveled till he came to a mountain, where 3 giants were sharing their inheritance. And as they saw him pass, they cried out and said, "Little man, have sharp wits. He shall divide the inheritance between us." Now it consists of a sword that cut off an enemy's head whenever the wearer gave the words, "Heads off!" a cloak that made the owner invisible or gave him any form he pleased, and a pair of boots that transported the person who put them on wherever he wished. The king said they must first let him try these wonderful things, that he might know how to set the value upon them. Then they gave him the cloak, and he wished himself a fly, and in a moment he was a fly. "The cloak is very well," said he. "Now give me the sword." "No," said they, "unless you promise you won't say heads off. For if you do, we are all dead men." So they gave it to him on condition that he tried its virtue only on a tree. He next asked for the boots also, and said the moment he had all 3 in his possession, he wished himself at the Golden Mountain, and there he was in an instant. So the giants were left behind with no inheritance to divide or quarrel about. As he came near the castle, he heard the sound of merry music, and people around told him that his queen was about to celebrate her marriage with another prince. And he threw his cloak around him and passed through the castle and placed himself by the side of his queen, where no one saw him. But when anything to eat was upon her plate, he took it away and ate it himself. And when a glass of wine was handed to her, he took and drank it, and thus though they kept on serving her with meat and drank her plate continued always empty. Upon this, fear and remorse came over her, and she went into her chamber and wept, and he followed her there. Alas, said she to herself, did not my deliverer come? Why then doth enchantment still surround me? Thou traitress, said he, thy deliverer indeed came, and now is near thee. Has he delivered this of thee? And he went out and dismissed the company, and said the wedding was at an end, for that he was returned to his kingdom. But the princes and the nobles and the counselors mocked at him. However, he would enter into no parley with them, but only demanded whether they would depart in peace or not. Then they turned and tried to seize him, but he drew his sword, and with a sword the traitors' heads fell before him, and he was once more king of the Golden Mountains. A throne covered in blood, apparently. Side note for any potential husbands watching this, don't murder your wife's friends. It's just not a good practice if you want a long-lasting marriage. I'm single, and even I know that. Do we have time for this? I don't know. How many pages is this? Because we're getting the battery light. How many pages is this next story? Could we maybe squeeze it in? It's not many, and one of them's a picture, so really isn't that many. Let's see if we can squeeze this in. The Golden Goose. There was a man who had 3 sons. The youngest was called Dumpling. Oh, there's no E. Dumpling. Oh, that's funny. And was on all occasions despised and ill-treated by the whole family, because he didn't have any evenings. It happened that the eldest took it into his head one day to go into the woods to cut fuel, and his mother gave him a delicious passy and a bottle of wine to take with him, that he might refresh himself at his work. As he went into the woods, the little old man bid him a good day, and said, give me a little piece of meat from your plate, and a little wine out of your bottle. I am very hungry and thirsty. But this clever young man said, give you my meat and wine? No, I thank you. I should not have enough left for myself. And away he went. He soon began to cut down a tree, but he had not worked long before he missed his stroke and cut himself, and he was obliged to go home to have the wound dressed. Now it was the little old man that caused him this mischief. Next went out the second son to work, and his mother gave him too a patsy and a bottle of wine. And the same little old man met him and asked him for something to eat and drink. But he too thought himself vastly clever, and said, whatever you get, I shall lose. So go your way. The little man took care that he should have his reward, and the second stroke that he aimed against the tree